this. You folks don't have to do anything. You've been so patient. I appreciate that.
Do we need to restart, Derek?
No, 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 not at all. That's what I'm saying. It's like we're going to try this through a different method that doesn't require anything of you folks. But oh, it looks like we're going. You can start the meeting. Thank you so much for your patience.
Thank you.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Forkenbrock, Public Services Librarian. I'm going to share my screen here in just a moment so that we can. Oh, can someone give me screen sharing capabilities?
It's not giving you the option to share, Kelly?
Yeah, it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, they have to give you permission from Derek's, and Thorne have to give you permission for that.
Okay, are they still on?
I don't know. Is it something that you can send to me in an email and I can pull? Because I have permission, it looks like.
Okay, cool. I will email this to you right now. And then I'll just say next slide when we need to change it.
Sure.
Okay, let me get that.
Did you email it?
Yeah, I had to pull it onto my desktop and now I am sending it right now. It's attaching to the email. All right. All right, just sent it.
Oh, there it is. Technology.
So this is a short PowerPoint, about 9 slides, just giving you an introduction to me and what I've been doing at the library during this past year. Yeah.
Can you see it now?
I'm not seeing it.
Okay, I don't know what's going on. Just a second. It's coming up as presenter view for me. I just need to figure out why it's not.
All right.
How about now?
It says you started screen sharing, so I think it's coming. All right, there we go.
What do you see?
I see the slide, but it's just showing like everything instead of the slideshow. Usually when you click from beginning.
How about now?
I think if you go to present online with the drop down, there's going to be a choice of what version. There you go.
There we are. Awesome. All right. So first, I want to thank the board for inviting me to present at tonight's meeting. As a past board member for a public library myself, I understand, value, and appreciate the work you do on behalf of our library. And second, I wanted to open this presentation by explaining its title. Oh, I'm still on the first slide.
Sorry. No, it's me.
That's okay. I wanted to open this presentation by explaining its title. Empowerment and engagement are hallmarks of what I do in my role as public services librarian. from training our part-time staff members to representing the library in my outreach efforts in the community. I try to go above and beyond in carrying out the library's mission to be, connect, enrich, create, and thrive. Next slide, please. So for tonight's agenda, I'll begin by formally introducing myself and giving you some insight into my professional background. I'll then highlight some of the tasks that I've been working on. And then I'll leave my contact information at the end and will allow time for some questions. So let's get started. Next slide, please. All right, a little bit about who I am. I hold a BA in liberal arts with a concentration in marketing. 21 years after earning that degree, I began my graduate studies this fall at Iowa's SLIS program. I'm concentrating in public librarianship with a certification in digital humanities. One of my bucket list professional goals is to combine community outreach with digital tools that allows greater access to information. Before coming to North Liberty Library, I spent the first 2 decades of my professional career in Johnson County's private sector, working in marketing, project management, and sales. While I've been at North Liberty Library for 2.5 years, 2021 has been a year for the books, no pun intended. We were awarded, at the top of the year, we were awarded $3,000 from the American Library Association's Libraries Transforming Communities grant. We used that funding to launch Lighthouse in the library, which we'll talk about in some later slides. After that, I earned an American Library Association class certification in business outreach for the public librarian. This past, just at the top of the month, we hosted First Friday's Coffee Connections with Iowa City Area Business Partnership. And we have a photographer arriving this week from ALA because we have been chosen as a case study for the grant that we received in January. So it's really been a full circle moment for our grant with ALA and the launch of Lighthouse in the Library. It's led us to be a case study for the association, and we are really, really excited. We're having a photographer come in this week to take pictures of the library. And later towards the beginning of the year, they will do a showcase in the ALA newsletter all about us. So very awesome.
I want to let you know really quickly that Chris is here, and ALA, if you don't know, is American Library Association.
Absolutely. Thank you. Next up, so one part of my job is to help train and onboard and train our part-time staff. Our part-time staff, known as library assistants, is comprised of 17 members. They serve as our library's front line, greeting all of our patrons with a smile and assisting them with their information needs. To enhance their skills, each part-time team member is introduced to the library through a 2-week training program, which includes a tour of the community center, a review of our training manual, which is currently being redrafted into an online format. That's one of the pages. The picture to the right is one of the pages of that manual. Something we call pink slip training. It's an exercise in shelf reading, which is one of the required skills for our library assistants. Job shadowing the front desk so that they become familiar with the many interactions our staff has with our patrons every day. And individual one-on-ones with each full-time library staff member so that they understand all of the work that goes into making our library run efficiently. Next slide, please. One of my favorite parts of my job is going out into our community and talking about North Liberty Library. As I'm known to say in almost every interaction with businesses and organizations in our community, our library is much more than books and free Wi-Fi, although both are very important to our patrons. Here's a sample of the inclusive outreach initiatives I've helped implement. Love, Light, and Lit is a program I developed during the pandemic closure in 2020. It's so funny. I always tell the story. Jenny was, we just closed at the end of March, and Jenny asked, "Hey, do you have any programming ideas?" And I thought, well, I literally had just been on the job for 6 months in my position as public services librarian, and I thought, okay, well, everyone's kind of down about this lockdown, and we don't know what's coming next. So maybe I can find something enlightening to do on Monday mornings. So that is how Love, Light, and Lit was born. It's become a weekly web series that streams live from our Facebook page every Monday at noon. And it is also a monthly podcast with new episodes airing every last Wednesday of the month. You can find the podcast on all platforms, SoundCloud, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Our art wall predates my time with the library, and I've enjoyed taking it on. We showcase talent from right in our backyard. If you've had a chance to visit the art wall and display case lately, you'll notice that there are some very animated art designs on display right now. They're from Leona Roca. She's a senior at Solon High. Her mother, Kimberly Roca, she has her own art gallery here in North Liberty, and she's just made so much progress. Her mother shared with me that she's had 2 commissions, and a few of her paintings have sold from the library. So they are very, very, very happy with the art wall. With 8-week exhibit runs, the art wall and display case are in high demand. Our 2022 schedule is already filled, and we're beginning to book into 2023. So I'm really excited with how well the art wall has taken off. We have a full agenda for our art wall coming up in 2022, including in March, we're doing a special exhibit in the case for Women's History Month. I've gathered 5 women artists from our area who have agreed to participate. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm just thrilled that it's already filled up for 2022 going into 2023. Seasonal self-care bingo. This was an idea that I stole from another library system. Pinterest is my friend when it comes to thinking of community outreach and community engagement ideas. And I saw this on another library's Pinterest. What it is that we, every month or every season, I work with Danny Grandinetti, who's one of our marketing coordinators, and we create a bingo sheet where people can put stickers as they're passing by. So passing patrons can come by when they visit, and it's kind of an interactive bingo game. And it has several different activities now for the fall for seasonal self-care, like raking leaves, making hot apple cider, hosting friends for Friendsgiving, all different kinds. So it's just it's a small but mighty interactive way to engage our patrons as they're passing by. If you happen to visit the library one day, you'll find self-care bingo displayed right next to our new bookshelf, right up front. And then also partnering with local organizations is a big part of my job. Some of the emerging collaborations we have going on. Again, I mentioned we did First Friday's Coffee Conversations with Iowa City Area Business Partnership. We're going to continue to work with them and making sure that we are putting our library events on their calendar. That's an initiative that we're putting forward as well. I've put our marketing librarians in touch with my contact at Iowa City Area Business Partnerships to make sure that our events are showing up on their calendar as well. We've already made plans, Jenny, I included Jenny in this. We have made plans with African American Museum of Iowa to do 2 displays. We're doing a display in March to complement the Women's History Month art display. We're doing a women in military, Black women in military display that's going to be that's from African American Museum of Iowa's traveling exhibits. And in June, we're also going to do Behind the Beat, which is another traveling exhibit from the African American Museum of Iowa to commemorate African American Music Appreciation Month in June. The Academy of Scholastic and Personal Success. This was another organization right out of Cedar Rapids. They are interested in starting, they want to do podcast training. They have a group of 3rd to 5th grade kids that they would like to learn about podcasting. So I put them in touch with Nick, and he's communicating with those folks to get that started, possibly for spring break of 2023. So, I mean, of 2022. So when I'm reaching out to our community and making those collaborations, they may not just be specifically for the library, but they do engage the community center. And then also Iowa Workforce Development, Iowa Works, we will be working with them on the next Lighthouse in the Library event happening in January. Next slide, because I think the next slide is about Lighthouse in the Library. Oh, no, it isn't. The next slide is about grant writing, but the next slide after that is definitely about Lighthouse in the Library. So we'll talk more about Iowa Works in just a moment. Grant writing. So in order to expand access to both existing and future services to our patrons, I, along with 2 of our staff members, have established a grant writing committee specifically for library funding. We work independently, the 3 of us, on different grant initiatives so that we have that autonomy to work on specific projects. That way there's not too many cooks in the kitchen, especially when it comes to grant writing. We want to make sure that there's one author for each application. So we work independently on the applications that we're working on, but then, and we also track our time. We track everything in a Google Doc so that way we're working independently, but we're still tracking our progress collectively. We also meet twice monthly together to discuss new funding opportunities. So some of the grants that we've been awarded, I mentioned at the top, ALA, American Library Association's Libraries Transforming Communities. We received that grant. We just last month received a grant from Community Foundation of Johnson County for $5,250 to fund new iPads for our library. And we were awarded a conference grant for my attendance to ARSL last month. Some applications in progress. We have applications submitted to Foundation for Rural Service, the Emergency Connectivity Fund. That's one that I'm working on that I've submitted. This is in connection with the American Rescue Plan Act. And this is so we can fund, the Emergency Connectivity Fund will be to fund hotspots for us. American Library Association has the Let's Talk About It grant series on women's suffrage. So we are working on that. I think the Ryman Foundation application has been submitted. And we're also working on an application for some grant funding from Penguin Random House. So we are always looking for grant opportunities. We are always working hard to see if there are avenues, and we're also communicating outside of our 3 people on the committee. We're communicating with the rest of the staff to get their ideas on what they need. We have an ongoing wish list from the staff of different items that they need for programming and events. Next slide, please. So one of the grants that was awarded again was the American Library Association's grant, and that's how Lighthouse in the Library was born. So a little bit about what Lighthouse in the Library is. It is a quarterly community conversation series. And the point of the grant was to initiate just one conversation. That was the requirement. But I thought that this was such an awesome program that it's something that we're going to continue to do quarterly. So we were awarded the funds in January, and our first event kicked off that April. So we had our first event in April, which focused on food and wellness equity. Our second event was in August, which was about remote learning and return to school, giving us an opportunity to talk about what we learned in 2020 versus how we will approach remote learning and return to school in 2021. And our next Lighthouse in the Library event will be January 15th at 11 a.m. And we're going to be talking about workforce challenges. It is called New Year, New Career. All of the Lighthouse in the Library conversations are paneled. You'll see in the picture to your right, there's a panel of folks, and that was for our August event. So each event is paneled by not necessarily experts, but people who are well-versed in our community on the subject. We've had representation from both school districts on our panels for Lighthouse in the Library. We've had parents, we've had students. So we run the gamut, and local business owners. We've run the gamut with folks who have been on our panels for Lighthouse in the Library. With this new event coming up in January, it's going to be a 2-part event that day. So at 11 a.m., we will have a panel discussion about workforce challenges specific in North Liberty. And then from noon to 2, we are going to have a mini job fair. So we're really, really excited about this. If I remember correctly, Jenny, definitely correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think that the library has held a job fair before. So this is our first time attempting this. We are working with Iowa Workforce Development, AKA Iowa Works, to kind of get the ins and outs on how we plan the job fair component of the event. But we are very, very excited, very grateful to ALA for all of their help. And we will continue to have Lighthouse in the Library events going into 2022 and beyond. So please save the date, Saturday, January 15th at 11 a.m. for Lighthouse in the Library. Next slide, please. All right, well, that is everything that I have. Here is my contact information in case you have any questions about the information presented tonight. I absolutely love what I do and am always interested in conversation with those invested in the library. Please feel free to reach out to me via email or phone, connect with me on LinkedIn, and visit the library on our website. Next slide. Great. So if there are any questions, I would love to hear them.
All right, I'm going to stop the share so we can see faces.
Kelly, I don't have a question. I just want to thank you for all of the public health initiatives you're taking to really improve the community. It's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's really one of, like I said, I love reaching out to the community and just trying to find different ways that we can help. You know, even if I make a connection with someone in the community and they don't have a direct event or collaboration that they can do with the library, I'm always eager to connect them with someone else at the city who could be of service to that. So thank you.
I guess one question is there anything that we can do as a board to support you?
Well, I would say anytime, if you're on social media at any time and you're following North Liberty Library, as you should, definitely retweet, we repost all of our events. We have an awesome team of 2 who are working through our marketing and promo. And anytime we have events, we encourage folks to come out. And if you're unable to come out, then repost them. Put up posters if you need posters or links to any promo. If you see an event and you're thinking, hey, Kelly, do you know where I can get some more information about this event? Please reach out to me, let me know. But, you know, just continued support. If you think of folks who are interested in hearing more about the library and collabing with us, send them my name. I would love to hear from them and have some coffee with them and kind of talk a little bit about how we can be of service. So just absolutely continue to put the word out there about the library, because we are really expanding on what we know and getting more, you know, we're trying to get more grant work going. We're trying to get more accesses to our patrons. So anything you can do to help promote that is absolutely appreciated.
She did not get paid by Melody to say that.
Noted.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kelly. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. So do I just leave?
You can leave.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
You too.
You too.
All right, hold on. I have to find my agenda all over again. I got distracted. Okay, so now we're just on to our reports. So Jenny, if you want to take over this section.
Yes, I do. So budget is included, but we know the breakout is a little different here. So 56% is repair, maintenance, and utilities. That includes our databases and other things that are high that get spent right up front. So that's, I don't know why those are broken out that way, but they are. 31% is for contract services, which is our annual supports for things, and then 36% for materials. And as usual, there is nothing to report on personnel because we don't have that info. I do love this new system. I'm super excited about it. We just had budget proposal training last week, and we submitted online, and it was just so seamless and great. So I do think once we get everything caught up, and Tracy's been working nonstop on this stuff for months. So hopefully at some point it'll be even more seamless when we get the personnel stuff in there. But for now, I just trust that they have all the numbers they need. So average for this time of year is 42%. So we're sitting really well. It's just such a weird time. And I know most of you probably know that, trying to figure out what our expenditures look like during the time of COVID and pandemic is just so different from normal times, but I think we're doing pretty well. And then updates that I have from the library, if you want me to continue, I can, well, the Friends, I guess, is next. So did you guys have questions on budget, anything? No, okay. So the Friends had just had a meeting this week. I was not able to attend it because we had in-service at the same time last Friday. So I did not go to it, but they are just planning their cookie walk. They'll be putting shout outs for volunteers for that. So any bakers who want to donate to the cookie walk, just watch for that to come out on our social media. We would love to have help with those. They are going to pre-plate everything this year so that people aren't pawing through cookies and touching things. It's just a little easier. And we're actually partnering, Matt Messick asked if we wanted to bring it into the rec center and have it in the gym this year where the Santa breakfast is. There's like 400 people or some insane amount of people signed up for that breakfast already. So they typically get a lot of foot traffic. So we think we'll do well. It goes from 8 to noon or until cookies sell out. So I'm guessing it will be the latter there that will sell out faster than noon. But and then the next thing is my report, I believe. I don't know if I'm supposed to let you say that out loud, Jesse, but since we're on Zoom, it's just easier for me to roll through it for you. We are in the process of starting our committee, or looking at starting a committee for, we're calling it JEDI, which is Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. We're working on what we're going to have the committee do. And we've been talking, Amy and I have been meeting about this because Amy Golly, our adult services librarian, has a background in DEI work with her master's degree. So some of the things we've talked about is policy review, audit of operations, programs, displays, pretty much everything across the board, book lists that we have, and services that we provide. But in addition to that, one of the other things that we mentioned the other day that didn't make this list because it was after I wrote this, is having them also look at our job postings and how we advertise and promote our positions to reach more people and to try to get more diverse candidates. And then actually trying to see if we can't share that information, how we decide to go about that with the city, the rest of the city. So I'm really excited about that. I guess it's just in the next line, but then just looking at that process for hiring and using neutral language. I've taken a webinar on that use of neutral language, and I can't give you the exact number. What I can tell you is when you read those job postings that say things like looking for a superhero to do all the things in the world, women are like 60% less likely to apply for positions if they don't meet all 100% of the criteria, as opposed to men will apply for all the positions, even if they only meet 10% of the criteria. No, it's not that high of a number, but it's a very significant difference between male and female in that area. And I think we also just need to be aware that what we put in those job descriptions and our requirements for our descriptions may eliminate really good folks. So we want to be cognizant of that as we're posting things. They'll also suggest resources and training, and then creating lists of agencies and resources to assist patrons with things like interpreters. And one of the things that Amy brought up that I haven't shared yet with others, but is that the idea of having an interpreter, sign language interpreter as well, or taking some easy sign language for us, not easy, but some basic sign language for the staff to be able to help with some things. And that actually happened today. It was brought up because we have a group that meets at the library here and they wear masks. And one of the people who's been attending that group reads lips. So they requested to be able to take their masks down when they're speaking. And we of course said, yes, we want that to be accessible, that group to be accessible to this person. So I was pleased that we were able to do that. But so we had our in-service on Friday. It was an all-day event. We started in the morning with Nick Shimon, who is the director of the West Branch Public Library, and he talked to us via Zoom because he couldn't get here on time, and he sent one of his staff, which they have a small staff, so he didn't feel he could leave the library with her here all day. He talked about motivation in self and others and using celebration to get people to follow their goals and to continue to motivate them. He did this at the Iowa Library Association conference, so I asked him if he would do it for us. And there was so far we've had 9 people fill out the evaluation, and it's been really positive for everybody. But then from 10 to 12, we had 3 of the folks from United Action for Youth give a presentation on connecting and engaging youth in our community. This was a different group than gave it last time. And so it was really nice refresher, but also some new information for us. So just a different opinion on some things, but really much of more of the same of what we want to be looking for when we're talking to youth and how their brains work compared to our brains and things like that. And then finally, Jillian Rutledge from Waterloo Public Library presented. Hers was more not so much of a learning thing as just talking about the culture at that they've been trying to create at Waterloo through their committee that they already have. And basically a lot of her information that she provided was affirming for what we're already doing, the direction we're going, and also some of the things I feel like we're doing in a different way that works better for us locally here. So I think people got something out of every one of those presentations. After that, we were all pretty tired. That was like 4.5 hours of presentations. And then the staff got to come back here. Some of the staff did some really heavy cleaning of some of our cupboards that sadly had things in there from 1997, or I don't know. There was some funny stuff in there. So they cleaned some cupboards, and then we just all got to do a little bit of work for a couple hours before we went home. And then finally, we submitted the budget. I submitted the budget proposal last week on Tuesday or Wednesday. Mainly, the main thing is we try to stay in about a 5% increase across the board of the budget, which is about where I probably ended up. I usually ask for what I need, and if it's a little more, then Ryan will shove me back to my desk to lower some of the numbers, but I always start with the higher numbers, but I tell them I'll never ask for more than I think we actually need. And then we did have Shive Hattery, which is our engineering company that we work with at the city, sent architect out to just give me some numbers for getting acoustical panels down the main hallway. It gets pretty noisy in that hallway when there's groups out there walking through, or even in the rec center, if they're talking loudly at the desk, sometimes you can't hear. Even at our desk, you can't hear staff and patrons. So, and then the second piece of that is a renovated circulation desk. And I can't remember if I mentioned that to you guys yet. Yes, you're nodding yes. So I think I did. So I'm really hopeful that we'll get that stuff, but there's no word yet. We'll be meeting in the next few months to talk about budget. And then typically in February is when there's a decision. So I should know more by the end of next month, hopefully. And then just Kelly mentioned the community grant that she worked hard to write and get, which was very exciting. They called us and said they thought they had someone who wanted to provide those funds. And then we just got a check in the mail. That was pretty amazing. And then I just wanted to mention that our endowment fund is now over $62,000. It started at $11,000 in 2016. So I feel pretty good about that direction that it's taking and how much money has been added and donated over the few years. And we just received another $100 donation last week. So those just kind of, we get a big increase when we do our community outreach and letter in the spring. And then those just trickle in throughout the year then from that and other ways. I'm also looking at some ways to do some, the Friends are looking, actually, one of the things that I didn't mention that they're doing, I believe are going to do, I brought this up to them and suggested that they talk about this, and I think it's going to happen, is to set up a PayPal account so that we can put that online for people to pay or to donate to the Friends right away online. I think having that access will make a difference in their donations as well. And then I attended the second meeting for the University of Iowa's research group that's called LARC, or Libraries of Resilient Communities. I think I know I've mentioned that Jen and Kelly went last time. They weren't able to come this time. But it's really interesting. They're breaking basically into 4 groups. One of them is looking at the high majority of women in the field and what impact that has. One is looking at I can't remember the other ones. One is looking at how we use data to drive our services and how we read that data, because a lot of our data is qualitative versus quantitative. So how do we make those transitions to show good stats for what we do? And then there's 2 other ones that are not coming to me right now, but it should be really interesting. It's a long-term obligation where we'll just take a small part. Ours is just really basically advising to them, and because they're all researchers from the university, although a couple of them are in the library world, they're not practicing librarians. So there is also some potential funding that could go to local libraries. And we talked about possibly doing like a lecture series as part of that funding, which would be really cool. The 3 libraries would share here in Coralville and Iowa City, and potentially the smaller libraries as well. So that's exciting. Does anyone have any questions so far? I know I'm just this talking head during these meetings. So, the next piece is just talking about, I did win the election for the Iowa Library Association. So I am going to be the president for the Association for Rural and Small Libraries, and the board member for I'll be vice president this next year for association. And then both of those only meet 4 times a year. So I don't feel that I'm going to be overwhelmed by either one. I think I can juggle both of them pretty well. I'm super excited about the Association for Rural and Small Libraries, and to get back into the Iowa Library Association a little more heavily. I've kind of taken a step back from that group. So it's kind of exciting to get back more involved again. And then I just mentioned kind of some of the things that I learned at the Iowa Library Association conference and the Association for Rural and Small Library conference. That was really exciting, which was just, so I did an everyday advocacy one, which was one of my favorites. The person that did it was just a great presenter. And so she suggested that frontline staff are key to advocacy. If we can teach our frontline staff, even our part-timers, some of those elevator speeches and get them on board, it's really great. And then just that they should be knowing those key points that we're working toward and providing that messaging to them. The other one that I really, really liked was inclusion in hiring, which just had some really great tips on how to recruit for equity and welcoming new staff and onboarding and retention. So Kelly and I are sharing that information, and then using staff meetings as training opportunities. So I'm very excited to start doing a little bit more of that as well. And then Emily Kelly and I presented our presentation called The Policies of Yes, which was on equity and policy writing. And we had 74 people come. We had great feedback. And actually, since then, last week, we were contacted by the Central Kansas Library System and asked to present online to them on that topic in January. So that's pretty cool. And we are excited to be involved in that. And that is really all that I have other than the staff reports. So if anyone has questions about any of the staff reports, I'd be happy to answer those. But I think other than that, another month has passed. The trunk or treat was fantastic. We had a great turnout. We estimate about 170 kids, and then their accompanying parents and grandparents probably brought it up to about 300 to 400. And we had it on the trails, which was actually, I think we're going to keep that method. It means we don't have to block the parking lot off. They just walked around the pool and down the trail and back up through the back. It was actually great. So.
All right, well, if no one has questions about the staff reports, then we can move on to our policy review. All right, so we have a few to discuss. First is the art display policy. And that one, we could see all the changes that were made and
The
moves and all of
one.
that.
I had no issues or suggestions for further revisions.
Anyone else have any concerns on that?
No concerns.
No? Okay, would anyone like to make a motion to pass the art display policy as it's written now?
I'd so move.
I second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, we'll move that the art display policy gets updated for another year. And we also have a library conduct policy to discuss this month.
So you might note that this is a dramatic change. I put both of them in there because it was so dramatic that I wanted to make sure you guys could see them. So the second policy listed with the box, the table would be the one that we're suggesting and recommending. And I can give you just a little bit of background on why we thought we're trying not, we felt that the policy, while it covers a lot of things, is just basically a long laundry list of punitive actions that we don't want you to do, which is not the point. The point is to ask people to have good behavior when they're in the library and conduct themselves appropriately. This follows along with what we do in the teen lounge, which basically the 3 rules of the teen lounge are: respect yourself, respect the people around you, and respect the space that you're in. So this is basically the same thing. It's 3 responsibilities that cover all those things that we have up above, and then just some example lists of behaviors that we would not want people to do in the library. It's a little longer than we'd like, but we're going to leave it where it is. There is the one thing that I did not change that I want to suggest that we do. I thought that I had made the change, but maybe yeah, everything else looks good. Is under the unsafe or disturbing behavior, the bodily hygiene or scent, we would change that to just hygiene and take the word bodily out. A lot of times it's clothes that are causing an issue and not someone's body. And talking about someone's body hygiene or body scent is a lot more offensive than just talking about their clothes. Hey, your clothes smell like they might need to be washed. It's a little bit more, we just learned that actually in some training we had. So that would be the only other suggestion I would have, would be just to remove the word bodily from that and have hygiene.
Jenny, did staff take a look through this policy?
Yes, this
Is
comes.
it something that they can, is it workable for them to enforce?
Yes, and basically it's the same things in the one above. It's just a little friendlier term, face fronting, asking for the 3 responsibilities. And, listing the things out is really just because if something does happen, we can fall back and say, look, the lists are really to protect the staff on these things and to give some expectations. But mainly it's those 3 responsibilities that we want to address with folks and have out there. And this actually came, Amy and I sat down and really delved into this policy and then sent it out to the rest of the staff. This is borrowed from King County Library in Seattle.
All right, well, besides making that one change in language in that first box, how does everyone feel about moving forward with the overhaul of the library conduct policy?
I'd make a motion to approve it with change in language for hygiene.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
All right, so we will put in that new library conduct policy, and hopefully that is helpful for staff and patrons. Then it looks like the last point is going back to the meeting room use policy.
Yes, so that is the change is the, just under please note the sentence, this was what our city attorney suggested. We have in this instead of what I had before, which would have been really lovely. But he said it's kind of in the face of the First Amendment, which I kind of knew. I was just hoping he would let it go. So I understand that this is a better word choice and falls back on Iowa code. So.
All right, so it sounds like,
And he has approved this wording.
okay, great. So I think this is from last month that we originally talked about this. So if we would like to go ahead, it looks like we can move forward with approving that if everyone's still comfortable with it.
I'd move we approve it.
Thank you.
Second that.
Fantastic. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. So we have lots of new policies now.
Awesome.
Thank you, Jenny. And is there any other new business to bring up? Nothing. All right. Well, would anyone like to move to adjourn our November meeting?
Maybe Scott would.
I move that we adjourn.
Thanks, Scott. Anyone
I
second?
I second.
Thank you, Mike. Okay. Well, I assume everyone's in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Well, our next meeting is scheduled for December 20th at 6:30, and hopefully technology will be kind to us that time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good month.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Yes, you too. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Bye.